Hello everybody, I'm DieselD199, the creator of TOMICA Thomas Friends, and today I'm doing some audio commentary for you to give you an insight into the creation of this episode. And I'll start off by saying, first of all, this music sequence here, I really like. It came together quite well, and it was as I envisioned it. So I enjoy looking at it, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing it too. Of course, a lot of these clips here are actually sped up, and computer-generated camera pans have been added in.
Hi, Thomas. Good morning, James. How are you today?
So the actual main story behind this episode adapted a lot from the time I originally thought of it when I finished the prologue to the time when I actually got around to making it. The original idea was that when Donald and Douglas came to the island, they were picked on, and they didn't do anything. They sort of just slunk into the shadows a lot. And one day, Edward had an accident with some trucks, and all the other engines were busy, so they came and rescued him, and then of course they were accepted. But that idea adapted into what you see now, and changed a lot of things. And I think the storyline is a bit more mature this way. The other storyline, to me, it felt far too much like something Kid Entertainment would do. So I hope you enjoyed this storyline.
Percy, how long have you been here? I've been here the whole time, just you two have been.
And as you can see, the computer-generated eye movements, they did actually quite adapt a lot during this episode. I mean, as you can see here, they're actually computer-generated eyes. Later on in the episodes, you will notice that they're the actual eyes of the engines.
Shut up, James. Well, it is. They'll probably wash up in the tide if the Fat Controller arranged it. James, you're a genius. Took you long enough to figure it out. If they're gonna appear anywhere, then they're most likely to appear at the docks. Let's go down there and wait. Okay, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Right, it's settled then. Last one, there's an old pup.
And of course, here we go on to our probably main set of this episode. There's a nice steam effect. And so here are the docks. Now the way I stopped James there is actually a technique I call frame freezing. So what I've done is, in the actual clip, James goes all the way through, but I've frozen one clip. And it gives the effect of having the engine stopped.
Still no sign of the two new engines. Well, it'll probably take them a long time to come here if they're coming from Scotland. Scotland? Scotland? Well, yeah, that's where they are coming from. They're Scottish. Percy, you didn't tell us that before.
This little bit here first introduces Percy as a sort of naive sort of engine, and later on in this bit here you can tell he's still sort of babyish as well, which is the character I think suits Percy. And of course James is very arrogant and has a very stereotypical view on everything. So here's the childish bit here.
But anyway, I'm pretty sure there won't be that one.
I really like this transition. Of course, we got a more orangey light, which was actually the light that I used for the prologue and the first two remakes. Of course, I've updated it with a white light, but that yellowy light's still good for evening and sunrise sets. So yeah, it still comes in handy. I really do hate that light though. It's evil. It burnt me once. It gets really hot because it's not an energy saver globe.
Maybe we should just go shh. Don't shush. Shh. What the shh? Do you hear that?
And here we get the first bit of mystery in the episode.
Could be. We'll just have to wait and... Oh, god damn it, it's just...
And here we bring Emily in. Probably not as arrogant as she was in the prologue. Her character sort of adapted to be a bit more caring and not as stuck up as she was before, which I think she's better like that, more of her big sister rather than someone who, more than a Paris Hilton really, yeah. So a big sister, not a Paris Hilton.
Yes.
because Toby, Doc, and Oliver were waiting for them too. And if we were all waiting for them, who was pulling the passenger train? Now, one person did actually pick up. I did miss Edward, in that list of engines that she was naming. So, to rectify that, Edward does not actually pull coaches. He's a back engine and he shuns trucks. Though, as I've said, he will change. I have some plans in mind for Edward for the next 2 episodes. Now, this scene here was supposed to incorporate CGI, and of course, I didn't manage to do it. It will be in the next remake, so I'll show you that. It was actually supposed to go a lot longer than this shot here. He was supposed to pull out his gun, but I couldn't get the crowd to scream properly, so I cut that bit out. Yeah, I suppose you're right, James. But then, a great flash of lightning streaked across the And here we have our CGI lightning. I suppose you can consider it CGI. It's been added in with the video editing software that they use. Now that actual sky background comes from the game Age of Mythology. So yeah, I've just taken a screenshot whilst in game, and I've just added the lightning over the top. I don't really like the lightning in Age of Mythology, that's why. That lightning effect is actually really good. You can choose where the lightning comes in and where it actually hits, so yeah, that's why it was so good.
That's alright. But even though it's magic,
Now here Percy's character sort of does change. He's thinking outside the box. Now I love this sequence. Really puts Henry as a sort of bumbling character who's careless and bad things happen to him. It's the beginning of portraying him as that sort of character. He was sort of inspired by Officer Bob Brady from South Park and Mayor Meanswell from Lazy Town. So I think that character suits him.
that must be them.
You just got a shot of Cranky the Crane, who hasn't been formally introduced, but you'll see him later on in the episode, as I'm sure you know. Now here's our stars of this episode, Donald and Douglas. When I did actually plan the prologue, I was going to put them in, but I didn't actually have them, so I just decided to leave them out and put in that painter sort of joke. And then I thought it'd be good to introduce them into this episode. The Fat Controller was actually supposed to mention the number change, but I didn't actually end up doing that scene. Now, of course, these two footages here, they're actually, the engines are actually going forwards, and then I've made them go backwards by reversing the clip in the computer.
Well, I suppose we should just stay here for the night.
That's actually a pretty good face, I think, because I was able to use Donald's actual mouth, just flipped it upside down. And here we've got the track going back to the bridge, but of course all the suspensions have been broken, so it just falls on top of poor Henry.
No! 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 Stop it!
However, the engines at Tidmouth Sheds were not sleeping.
And here we've got Gordon's first speaking line in this episode.
This is just another one of your stupid stereotypical ideas.
Gordon, I'm telling you, they were emo. Even ask Thomas and Percy. They were emo, weren't they, guys? Yep, sure were.
Well, if
I like this face coming up.
those two confirm.
Yeah, it worked really well, because when I actually made it, I was hearing about the CGI faces were coming in, and
You say anyway.
I decided to see what I could do, just moving parts on the program I use, PaintShop Pro,
I mean, you'd think someone
and I
would
thought it
set
looked
up
alright.
by now.
As you know, I will perhaps do some CGI faces in the future, but I've got to get these CGI people done first.
But not for long. In the skies above.
And now
trouble
we've
was
got
brewing.
the normal lightning,
The magical
the normal
storm
white
that
sort of
had
color.
followed The twins had now created a real storm. Rain soon began to thunder down, and the wind howled too. The engines weren't asleep any longer. Then the lightning.
There it is, white
The
lightning.
storm
Yeah.
had now begun.
Now, of course, that rain and that cloud there has been added
It
in
blew down
over the
trees,
computer.
picked up objects, and hurtled them like projectiles.
with the actual rain, I did want to get like one of those spray bottles and just sort of dampen down the areas, but I didn't have time to get it. So in the next episode there will be rain, and I'm hoping that I can have it by then.
Cranky the crane began to wobble and shudder. Move! Cried Donald, and they did just.
And here's Cranky going down like in the episode Cranky Bugs, but of course he doesn't hit that trigger. Now this is my favorite sequence. That collapse works so well, I'm so happy with it. And the sound effects went in too, and that's actually the sound effects from the bridge breaking in Calling All Engines. Okay then, now we're going on to part 2. Okay then, now having a look at this actual sequence here with the destruction being revealed came from Walking with Dinosaurs, the idea, with the sun rising and then you seeing the little dead Triceratops. So yeah, that's where that idea came from. Taurosaurus, actually, yeah, it was a Taurosaurus. Now, of course, this is a model, that controller that's been photoshopped, I suppose you could say, into this shot. Now he's been, I suppose you could say, yellow screened, because I stuck him onto a yellow wall and then removed the yellow. I will actually be doing some green screen effects in the next few remakes with some close-ups, and yeah, you'll just have to wait for them. I've got the theory of how to do it. I think it'll work. And of course, another tiny little theme in this episode was that, you know, Henry's sort of ignored by everyone.
And even Donald and Douglas were helping out. They had managed to get hold of the crane and were helping.
Here we go, we're putting Cranky back up. I like that shot, it seems very busy. Now that shot of Cranky back then was actually intended to be used at the dock scene when they were waiting for Donald and Douglas, but I didn't manage to fit him in. Now here we go, James being arrogant as usual. This spiral track, which I got with the Thomas Mega set, I was wondering whether I should actually use it, because it isn't very realistic. But then I realized a lot of the other aspects in my track weren't very realistic, so I thought I'd use it. It's a very nice and interesting thing. And here's your first spoiler for episode 2. It's not that much of a spoiler. That spiral track after this accident gets called James's View. And there'll be a little sign there. Not much of a spoiler. I'm not going to give too much away. But there you go. Down he goes. I was actually worried about how I was going to pull that shot off, and I did manage to get it to work right.
Donald and Douglas were the only engines available. Much to James's disappointment, they were the
this scene here was actually supposed to go a lot longer than what it is now. But of course, time limits. This whole second part went a lot shorter, and I did cut out things because the holidays, 2-week holidays, was coming to an end, and I did want to get this episode finished by the holidays. And I had done, I did the majority of the episode in the holidays, so. Now this music here, I don't care what people think about Robert Hartshaw's music. I think he's a really good composer, and I love this music here. It's awesome. I do like Michael O'Donnell and Junior Campbell's as well. Okay then, well that's the end of the episode. Hope you might have picked up one or two things from my commentary, and I'll see you later, everyone.